Hello and welcome to Froch on Fighting with me, Carl Froch. Whilst I've got you, don't forget to hit subscribe, like and share, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything like this one here live at the Wembley Arena in London where Zhang has just taken on Joe Joyce in the rematch. And Joe Joyce, from the start, looked a little bit timid. I thought he was being cautious because of what happened in the first fight and partly because it was his game plan. He was moving away from the Zhang left cross, the southpaw left cross, anti-clockwise around the ring, keeping out of the way. Not much happened in round one, but there was no kind of ambition. He wasn't in any kind of rush to let his shots go, Joyce. And I thought, is that just because he's being cautious, or is that because he's actually worried about getting clipped? And I think it was the latter, because in round two he got clipped with a shot, a left cross from Zhang, and he was badly hurt. He was shook to his boots, really badly hurt. He walked back to, luckily for him, it was late in the round, he walked back to his corner and slumped back down on the stool, and he must have been sitting there thinking to himself, bloody hell, this is going to happen again. You know, he'd have been having flashbacks of that first fight when his eye closed. And I think Zhang knew he had his number. I think he knew he could hurt Joe Joyce, and he came out in round three. He took his time, he waited, he got himself in range, and like Spencer Oliver was saying tonight on TalkSport, which I was working the broadcast for, he was setting a few traps. Zhang was looking for that left cross, but also the right hook finish. And when the finish came, it came in a devastating fashion. Zhang landed a lovely left cross, straight on the chin of Joyce, and then the right hook from the southpaw stance clipped him on the bottom of the chin and just crumbled Joe Joyce to the ground. And I just think that, I mean, first of all, it was an amazing performance from Zhang. It really was a polished performance, and he deserves all the credit. I'll talk about him in a minute and say what's next for him. But first of all, I just want to say Joe Joyce, unfortunately, at 38 years old, what is he, 38, 39 years old, he's now looking like, where does he go from here? What does he do now? Back-to-back devastating defeats, and that knockout there, I just don't think he's going to be able to do anything. I mean, Daniel Dubois may call him out and say, listen, I want to get rid of that blemish off my record, because he obviously beat Dubois, but it's still a potential dangerous fight for Dubois. He's only 24, 25 years old, Dubois. He's still young, and he probably don't need that. But I just think Joyce has got nowhere to go. And does he actually want anywhere to go in the pro game? At this stage of his career, at this time of his life, two back-to-back defeats, and that last defeat there that we've just seen 10 minutes ago was absolutely crushing. And I just think that could be the end of him. And it's sad to say, because I think Joe Joyce has been swerved by a lot of opponents. I don't think Anthony Joshua wanted to fight him. Usyk, I mean, he beat him in the WSB, the World Series of Boxing, a few years ago. And I think he probably would fight Joe Joyce, but no one really gave him his chance. So he's been kind of forced in a position where he's got to take people like Zhang. He went in there confident, but tonight he just wasn't good enough. And Zhang really did perform and detonated that right hook on his chin, and flattened him and knocked him out. And like I said earlier, that could be the end of Joe Joyce. Zhang now, after that win, the top three, is it top three or four? We've got Usyk, we've got Tyson Fury, Usyk. Who do you put at number one and number two? You've got to say Fury. You've got Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. I don't think any one of them four would really want to just be jumping in with Zhang for a voluntary. I think out of the four, I think Deontay Wilder would fancy that. Talking about going over to China at some stage, where there'd be apparently 200 million people. He's a bit of a national hero out in China. You can imagine them all over there watching that, cheering him on. If it's going to be 200 million, it's going to be over in China. I think Deontay Wilder's brave enough and good enough to take that challenge and go in the ring thinking he's going to win. He's a detonating puncher with you know, when he lands that right hand on anybody's chin, he's going to be confident that he can knock out Zhang. So he'd probably take it, but I'm not so sure Usyk would really, I mean, Usyk would fancy it, but I don't know if he'd entertain it. Tyson Fury, maybe, maybe not. Anthony Joshua, I've already said, I don't think he'd take that fight. That's too dangerous. I don't think Eddie Hearn would risk Anthony Joshua in against Zhang. So he deserves a shot at the top four. What's he got there? WBO title now. So he's going to be mandatory for one of the other belts. So at some stage, they're going to have to fight him. But at 41 years old, I feel like time might be running out. Wouldn't it be exciting if Zhang was another 5 years younger and he had a bit more time on his side where these big fights could be made? But all we can do really is be hopeful for the future for this Zhang. That performance was brilliant, and hopefully he does get in with one of the other top four fighters. But I'm not so sure they're going to want it. How would Zhang get on with the other top four? I'm not going to stand here and say that Zhang beats Tyson Fury or he beats Deontay Wilder. I think he could beat Deontay Wilder. I think potentially he could give Fury a tough fight. I was going to say Fury's too big for him, but have you seen the size of Zhang? He's huge. He's a big man mountain. He gives all of them a tough fight. I think that he can outbox and school Deontay Wilder for 11 rounds or even 11 and a half rounds, but then he could get absolutely knocked out at the end of round 12 because that's the kind of power that Deontay Wilder holds. Usyk, I think that'd be a great fight, technical one I'd love to watch. Tyson Fury, I always love to watch Tyson Fury in any fight except for Ngannou. And I think Anthony Joshua, and I'm not just picking on Anthony Joshua, I don't think Anthony Joshua is ready for a fight with Zhilei Zhang based on the performance I've just seen there. And I think Eddie Hearn would 100% shy away from that fight. So another fight of interest for me and for the rest of the boxing world is Conor Benn. He's not fighting anybody particularly dangerous, but the fact that he's fighting has caused a big stir in the boxing world because he's not licensed by the British Boxing Board of Control, and all the controversy which is surrounding the failed drugs test. But for me, I want to see Conor Benn out there. He's been out the ring now for 18 months. If I'm managing him, if I'm Eddie Hearn, I want to see Conor Benn busy and start to get going. But if I'm honest, it puts a bit of it taints the sport a little bit in a bad way because people are going to be saying, look, he's failed a drugs test, he's not been in front of the board and had his hearing, he's not been cleared, so why is he allowed to fight in Florida? Well, there's a technicality that he's allowed to fight while there's a hearing going off or an appeal so that he can actually fight in Florida. So he's within the rules to be able to do that. And if I was managing him, I'd want to see him fight. And I hope he wins. But like I said earlier, by the time this goes out, the fight will be finished. I'm sure he would have done the business. The guy's not even ranked in the top 200 in the world. So it's a bit of just a steady sparring session for Conor Benn. But it's important for him to get out and start his career back. But regardless of who he fights in Florida or anywhere else overseas, it doesn't take away from the dark cloud that's hanging over his head with the failed drug test or 2 failed drugs tests that need to be rectified in terms of going in front of the British Boxing Board of Control, having a hearing with them, and taking some kind of ramifications for them failed drug tests. And when that's happened, he can put all this behind him. Talking about maybe serving a 2-year ban, which would run out in April 24 because it'd be backdated. This is just a conversation I'm having with Gareth Davis at ringside tonight. I don't fully know how that works, but regardless of how it works or how long he'll be banned for, if indeed he does get banned, then it just needs to happen. We need some clarification on it. We need Conor Benn, and I'd love to see Conor Benn back in Britain fighting. I mean, the Chris Eubank fight's a fight that everybody wants to see. It's a fight I want to see. But that aside, that's just a money fight. I want to see him build his career and go through the rankings and pick up some titles. You know, I'd like to see him win the European and British. Maybe if he bypasses that, go for the WBA regular and then go straight into world title fights. But he's not going to do it if he's not fighting. He needs to be mixing it at a decent level. Then he's got to step up for world level opponents. Conor Benn is one of the most exciting prospects in British boxing. I've said it before. And he's wasting his career with all this what's going off with the drugs test. And it must be frustrating for him. He's saying he's innocent. He's saying he's done nothing wrong. And to be honest, I believe him. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I think it's contamination. That's my opinion. I might be totally wrong, but when I speak to him and look in his eyes and he says to me, look, I've not done anything wrong, I'm inclined to believe him. So I'd love to see him just get it put behind him, and he's only going to do that by going in front of the British Boxing Board of Control, taking whatever ramifications there are, and then moving on with his career. He's young enough, and he's certainly good enough to make a big dent in this professional boxing ring. I think whatever weight he ends up doing, 154, 160, the big fight is Chris Eubank Jr. That's the money fight. But that aside, which is a little bit of a rubber match because it won't be for titles, it's not significant. I'd like to see Conor Benn go on and win genuine world titles. And I think he's got the ability to do that. I really do think he has. He's got a strong team around him in Tony Sims. And he's got his old man, so he's got it in the blood. He's got Nigel Benn. He's got the blood of a fighter. When he walks to the ring, I've said it before, there's not many British fighters I get that excited about when they're doing the ring walk. He's the kind of guy that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And I want to see Conor Benn back in the ring with his licence from the British Boxing Board of Control, moving on with his career as soon as possible. So I've just kick-started my contract with TalkSport. I sat ringside tonight on TalkSport Radio with Spencer Oliver, who I've been friends with for years, and all the other boys, Andy Clark. And the next show I'm doing is actually with DAZN for Eddie Hearn, Lee Woods fighting Josh Warrington in Sheffield. That's a great fight that I'm looking forward to. I'll do another ringside response actually that night, like this, for that night. But before then, I will be filming from my house with my lovely wife, Rachel, doing another episode of Froch on Fighting. So thanks for liking and sharing. Please hit subscribe. It helps massively. We've passed the 50,000 mark. Appreciate all of you. I really do enjoy doing these, and I'll get lots of love in the comments below. Leave your comments. I read most of them. And until next time, this is Froch on Fighting. Take care.